Good afternoon. I'll start with the story. So, early 13th century, the army led by Simon de Montfort is attacking the city of Béziers in the attempt to wipe out the Cathars, which is a religious group that he considered to be heretic. And in the city, we have both Catholics and Cathars. So a young captain goes to him and asks how we recognize the Catholics or the Cathars. So how we distinguish between them. And he says, kill them all, God will recognize his own. So nowadays, we would expect this to be the reply of a very bad villain, immoral, but back then we probably thought, he was morally right. He was doing the greater good of humanity by taking care of what he considered to be a cancer for society. And now, taking obviously distance from this extreme example, I feel that nowadays many farmers are caught in a system where they kind of have to enter the field with a similar attitude. If you think about it, you may have a problem with a pest, and you have to apply the broad spectrum pesticides that also wipes out beneficial insects, pollinators, and so on. But I use the word caught because is there really an alternative? I mean, can they do something different? It's not as easy. It's not that 1 year a farmer goes and says, this year I stop using pesticides because, if you don't take care of a pest when you realize that you have an outbreak in your field, within the next 3 or 4 days, you probably lose your whole crop. So in a way, there is really no alternative. But some farmers manage to control pests without using pesticides. And how they do it? It's magic? No, it's hard work. Instead of using pesticides, they will have to implement many different practices that altogether help to contain that problem. And if you look at the organic movement, they are able to. Obviously, there is a difference. If you apply pesticides, it's very effective and you solve the issue 100% with in 1 day spraying. And if you are an organic farmer, you have to plan a lot, you have to do 4 or 5 different practices, and altogether this natural-based solution, this working in line with the ecosystem, would help you to control maybe 90% of the issue. So it's still, you don't solve it all. So it is complicated, but an option exists. So in a way, moving, if our goal is to help a sector that is at some time, those that are caught in that system, that they have to use, and they are intensive in inputs, they have to use pesticide, herbicide. If you want to help them moving towards more sustainable system, then they need support, financial support, they need training, there is investment. And in this context is where carbon farming and nature-based solution financed through market mechanism may come handy. Because, and this is, I refer it to carbon farming because that's my expertise, but in a way, nature credits would work similarly. These are tools to finance a transition. So it's a system to finance change. And it's, this is really what will attract investment, because nobody would pay for something that is happening already. In the carbon markets, this is known as additionality. So you have to do things kind of differently. It's thanks to that intervention, to that financial incentive, that an action take place. And to be impactful, we need a system that allows for the farmer, land manager, to really have, to take care of the farm holistically, delivering climate, environmental, and social benefit. So, the transition is hard, but those mechanisms, paying for carbon credits or natural credits, can be useful. And one of the element I think it's interesting to consider is that as any other innovative model, processes, market mechanisms, as any other innovation, it will have these systems will penetrate the market following a trend that any innovation follows. So you will have the innovators that are the first, that are more ready to take the opportunity to engage with this financial mechanism, and to actually they are more disposed to change the way they manage the farm, which is ultimately the goal of this mechanism. So we have the innovator, we have the early adopters, and the majority, and that trend it will repeat. And I point out this because it's important that we, at this moment that we are kind of designing and building the system, we realize who are we building the system for. Because if we look at the late majority, they will only do the things once the early majority, early adopter, innovator will have proven that those mechanisms work. So perhaps we should target the more innovator farmers for this mechanism. And last thing, I don't know the future, and I don't know how it will look like, but in a way, funding the transition towards more regenerative models of farming and forestry would follow this, would look like a little bit like this, where you have obviously public funding will play a bigger role at the early stages of this market mechanism, and little by little the private investment will have to take a bigger role. So it's now for the agri-food sector and the big company, it's the moment maybe to experiment and to learn how those things work, because at some point they will have to take a bigger role into the system. And with this I stop. Thank you.